How's the lighting in here? Do we both look gorgeous?
Oh, that wonderful fluorescent light overhead. I'm sure we look absolutely
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah. Nothing makes a man look attractive like a 60-cycle hum.
Hang on.
Hanging around.
I'm not getting much of a signal from you at the moment.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
And that could be it could be this crappy cable. Hang on. Hello. Hello, hello.
Yeah, I think we're going to get some doubling up of the audio, but oh well. We can deal with that.
Okay.
Anyway, we are live now. So yeah, Count Dankula. I'm
straight into it then.
I am perturbed. Yeah, I mean, like this is
I'm massively perturbed.
Like
my friends are getting perturbed about how much that's all I'm talking about. Like, have you seen this thing? Oh, and the number of people that have no idea, like, have not even heard the story.
Yeah, look, it's
we should probably introduce ourselves.
We should.
Yeah.
This is the wonderful Magnus, Danger Magnus.
Hi, this is my captain, the incredible lemming, master of the house, dollar of the charm, ready with a handshake and an open palm.
Yes, I do try and be as welcoming to everyone as possible here. We actually had an interesting one tonight of one of the people who is here tonight. Unfortunately, has problems with one of the other people who's here, or vice versa.
Oh, okay.
And they came up to me and they said to me, and I said, look, unfortunately, the best thing I can say is do what I do, and that's just avoid them, walk away from them. There are people here who I have problems with, and if that's the case, the best thing you can do is just leave them be.
Well, yeah, which in a roundabout way is a sentiment that follows the topic that we're talking about this evening.
Yeah, look, I mean, like this whole thing with Count Dankula is interesting in that he. I'm trying to think how to put it. Like, I mean, yeah, okay, what he's done is foolish.
Yeah.
No, okay. Yeah. So what he has done? Would you?
Do you mean the original joke?
The original joke. Would you do it to your partner?
I would, and I think that's a scary thing for me to admit at the very top end of this podcast, because it would make me easily be called out for bias. That it's that's just because that's sort of the year.
Look, I mean, like I play jokes with people and I play pranks on people and I do stuff at work like that as well. My tricky one with that is that I think that the joke is in poor taste.
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
But the to quote Larry Flint's lawyer, what you're talking about is a question of taste and not of law.
Yes, no, that's what it comes down to. Is like this is not something that should be legislated, because the problem with this sort of thing is that once you legislate that, where do you stop?
Well, the precedent is now set, which is perhaps the most terrifying thing. See, this is one of the things about, because when you suggested this as a topic, I thought, oh man, that's a great topic, man. I could talk for a very long time about this. However, the other thing about it is it's not such a great topic, because I think, I don't think there's going to be any debate about it. I think anyone who's reasonable and of sound mind is going to go, this is a ridiculous and scary thing.
But I have to say, there's how do you, this used to be a big thing for me, is like, how do you define normal?
Oh, I've been dealing with that one.
Yeah. So it's a case of, this is something that comes down to personal feelings. It is something that is subjective rather than that you cannot be objective about. And you should not legislate something that you cannot be objective about.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, like people are like, oh well, you can't be objective about, like, to throw the worst case scenario, you can't be objective about child porn. I'm like, yes, you can, because you can be objective about the damage that it does to the children.
Yeah.
All right, but
are we doing an Amos Yee podcast as well?
Fuck no.
Jesus Christ.
Don't get me started.
Don't get down. That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's because I mean that's the problem.
Fuck that guy, by the way.
That's a problem you get, is you do get people like Amos Yee who do it because they want the attention. And I think with this guy, there's a certain level of that in it.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure he was ever so politically minded. Some of the podcasts and the appearances, interviews that he's had since, in the year and 2 years that he's been waiting for sentencing, he's really some very insightful psychological and legal points that he's been making. And I think if you're thrust into that sort of position, it's something that you
learn fast.
Yeah, you've really got to figure that out.
Yeah.
But there's been some really like this. Some people have had some really insightful takes on it, and yet there are still some people who are like I mentioned it to friends, and people are going, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe you should go to jail." I'm like, what? How? What? Where is your brain? How can this possible?
Well, like okay, my favorite example of this is actually the one that happened with Jordan Peterson and the Kathy Newman.
Oh yeah,
interview on Channel 4 in the UK as well recently of she like what right do you have to offend these people? And it's like like any time you get into a conversation with someone, you risk being offended
in order to think, in order to communicate.
You have to risk that, and if you can't risk that, then you can't risk anything.
So you're saying we should be lobsters?
Look, that's a very topical point. Yeah. Very topical point. I'll give you that one.
I watch the internet, folks.
Yeah. I look for those who are not getting the joke, because that is a very in joke. One of Jordan Peterson's favorite ones, and this was actually mentioned in the interview that I spoke about, is that antidepressants work on lobsters. And the whole reason for this is that they basically have the same brain structure for dealing with social structures that we do, and so the same chemicals work on their brains.
Yet we don't have a common ancestor anywhere from 450 million years ago.
Yeah, but like millions and millions and millions of years back, like there's... So this is not a case of,
This is not... Oh, good. It's not a cultural construct.
No, it is not. But the thing is,
we always if we're going to start talking about if we're going to go into biological determinism this early on, we're going to get in a lot of trouble.
We could potentially, yes. No, look, I mean, and this is something we struggle with here constantly, and I've had this conversation with a few people. This is a very male-dominated place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not great. I would love to change it. But the question is, how do you change it beyond saying, no, we can't have more male members?
Well, yeah, it's the same with AI, right? You've got a top-down fix and you've got a bottom-up fix, right? And the top-down fix will not work.
Yeah. So, the one that I always try and do, and we have, there's... Som in the next room, she's working on an art piece that she's working on for the Cottesloe Light Show at the moment.
Is that?
Yep.
There's some amazing stuff.
Yeah. So she and she came in and everyone who comes through the door. We've got I can't remember. I think her name is Gwen, sitting out there at the moment working on the mod synth
doing
stuff.
The synth mod stuff.
Yeah. And I encourage everyone who comes through the door as much as possible. And unfortunately, it just seems that no matter how much I encourage, we end up with more men than women.
Yeah,
and I would love to change that, and but I'm at an absolute loss as to how to change it, other than basically making the playing field uneven. And I don't agree that that's a fix.
Well, no, it's. I know we're here to talk about free speech, but we'll very, very easily get into
off track.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about the equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity. Argument many times, and we're very much in agreement on it because it's reasonable, and if you think about it long enough and look around, it becomes very clear, crystal clear, in fact.
But that does actually tie back to it always does tie back to the same thing, because with free speech you have to give everyone the same equality of opportunity.
I was saving this one up for later on as a real pal. But one of my favorite quotes on this subject is actually from iDubbbz TV. Who said it very, very clearly. It's either all okay or none of it's okay. Which it goes absolutely. If people start ignoring context and intent, which is precisely what the damn judge said. Yeah, which terrifies me.
Yeah, that's the worst thing is because how much do you say on a day? I mean, how many jokes do I make on a daily basis with people that, if taken out of context, could be horrible?
Yeah, look, if somebody was just reading a transcript, and it's pretty much the same thing as quote mining, right?
Yeah,
I mean, anything that you say, and Jonathan Pye had a fantastic point to make on this, which I hadn't considered, which is really, really quite eye-opening, is if context and intent don't matter, then every single news source that's reporting on this case is just as guilty as Dankula is.
Yes, yeah.
If they put out that video...
they put out the video of him doing it, then...
So context and intent don't matter, then they're spreading just as much Nazi propaganda as he is.
Yes, exactly. Like, if context doesn't matter, then nothing does. Because context is everything.
It's such an inane thing to say. That anyone can... Especially somebody... from a legal standpoint, could say that. I mean, I understand a prosecutor's job is to get a prosecution.
Yeah.
But Jesus, that's just, how can you possibly say that, aloud and not, oh God, want to blow your brains out?
Like, one of the ones that, I remember about this is a while ago, California, I don't know the actual veracity of this, but I remember hearing that California, they basically advise that people should no longer refer to cables as master and slave. They should refer to them as primary and secondary. And I'm kind of like, okay, cool, yeah, I can understand that. Yes, I'm guessing Magnus hasn't heard this one before.
Oh God, I have not. That is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's craziness.
Yeah, it's like what is the big problem?
Oh God.
I
can't. But the first thing into my head is that's political correctness gone mad. But that's a phrase you can't say aloud without having a whole bunch of people go, "Why do you hate women?" Oh Jesus Christ. It's just ridiculous. Oh my God. There was a what was it? How long before we were referring to women as people of gender?
I did like the one with Justin Trudeau of it's not mankind, it's people kind.
It's humankind, you idiot.
And then he had to walk that one back very quickly.
Oh God, that was
amusing.
Boy, oh boy.
Yep.
I got a lot of friends of mine who are big Trudeau fans. If this one gets out, actually, I'm probably going to get already in a lot of trouble with,
Hey, okay, look, hang on. I do like some of what Trudeau has done. I think it's great. Like, I look at...
agreed.
I do look at, like, the one I love is I look at his cabinet, and yeah, he's done the whole 50% thing, and that's great. Brilliant idea. I do agree with it, that it is a good goal.
Yeah.
All right. And the other ones I love is, like, his... Secretary of Defense is a ex-army general, who's seen active combat,
Yeah.
And has dealt with all of that sort of thing. Whereas, like, most of the Secretary of Defenses that I've seen here, and and in the US and stuff like that are...
And Europe.
Are people who their entire political career has been as a politician.
Yeah.
You slammed that one down, didn't you?
I like beer. Yeah. It's, this is... I try not to think of this as well. I'm very lucky to be in the position where...
this is one of the few places in Perth that you can play with power tools and drink beer.
Oh, boy. Mm.
And yes, I will stop you from doing that if you come along, because that's a bad idea.
Yeah, he's kidding, folks.
Yeah. No, I'm actually, like, this is, I think this is the...
Are you going to be operating heavy machinery later on?
Fuck no.
This is your first one.
This is my first one of the night. I'm actually trying to think of when the last time I had another beer was. I tend not to drink a lot, but I do enjoy a good beer.
Well, I'm honored that you would choose to down some suds in my company, sir. So yeah, Trudeau is Trudeau. I mean, he really is like a golden boy to come out of nowhere. To have a major North American nation under the leadership of this guy who's clearly like as progressive AF. Guy,
Look, and like there is nothing wrong with being progressive, but being
hell yeah.
Being progressive at the cost of I think like my ultimate thing is to be equal to everyone, and that's what I try as hard as possible to do.
Yeah,
is to be equal to everyone. I am human, so I'm not perfect. There are people I don't get along with. There are people here that I don't get along with, but I try hard. There are people who are probably watching this because I did link it in the IRC channels hanging around who are know that I have a temper, and I do, and I. But I try very hard to rein that temper in and stuff like that, and I try to be, and I find that by doing that, the same comes back to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and and just being nice to everyone, being helpful to everyone. you know, like I mean, the past few months I've been struggling to find work, you know, stuff like that, and I've had so many offers of help from people, which has been just, you know, like. And it's hard at times because, you know, I'm like, shit, have I earned this? You know, but like I look at some of the stuff I do, and I you know, I think that I give as much as I get, you know, if not more. So
it really is. If you don't give as much as you get, if you don't get as much as you give, it'll come pretty damn close.
Yeah,
which really is just, you know, it's a great reason to give more.
Yeah,
you know.
I saw a great one the other day, which was greet everyone like you would like to be treated. But that doesn't mean you have to treat them like that forever. Because if they treat you like crap, then don't, you know, then you have, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's the way. Everyone who walks through the door, I try and be kind with them, and I try and.
That's why it's the golden rule and not the balsa wood rule.
Yeah.
Although gold's pretty soft metal, it's not that soft.
Wait, yeah. So like, what sort of particle is it? Hang on, now I'm trying to remember. It's not gallium, it's bismuth.
Oh, okay, bismuth.
The one that you can actually chew.
Yeah.
You chew it like chewing gum.
Well, I was thinking, what's the one that transition metal that explodes when it touches water?
Which one? How violently?
Oh yeah,
rubidium, rubidium, cesium.
No, cesium. Yes, cesium. The cesium rule. It's the cesium rule. If you chew on it, it'll explode.
Then again, there are people who like that sort of thing.
Oh, dude, I love a bit of cesium. Man, that's fun.
I'm going to submit my beer if you don't care.
That was did MacGyver do one of those? Oh no, that was sodium. Yeah, he did a sodium explosion to.
Oh, the one I remember from that is that dodgy TV show Brainiac that was around about the same time as Mythbusters.
Oh, and they faked that sodium. Yeah.
No, they faked a number of them. Like they're like, oh, it blew up a bathtub, and everyone's like, no,
that didn't happen.
No.
Why do you have a cable running from it?
Yeah. Because Cody's Labs on YouTube did one where he did a bunch of them.
Love me some Cody's Labs.
He's pretty good. Yeah. The shit that's happening here on you. Actually, there's a good one for free speech. YouTube. What the fuck?
Oh my god. Well, look, okay, yeah. Look, that's. I mean, we should get back on the topic here because you and I have a tendency to rant and tailspin.
That's
the one. I hope that as the podcast continues, that is found to be charming rather than annoying. Yeah. But YouTube has really gone to shit ever since. Like, I mean, the first Adpocalypse, oh my god.
Well, but like the Adpocalypse was about things that like actually. Well, okay, so the Adpocalypse, you know, was supposedly about the fact that they had ads on like Al Qaeda videos and ISIS and yeah, you don't want ads on those.
Yeah, like there's the thing. I don't mean to. It sounds like your point is about to be made. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, the thing that really that's always confused me about the Adpocalypse that I find I'm sure is a failing on my part, and you know I'm not a very corporate or even marketing minded person.
Yeah.
I have people for that, but there is the idea that corporations don't want to be associated with certain kinds of content. Like they have this idea that that Pepsi is endorsing stab-proof vests.
I'm sorry. The one there is the what's her name? Fucking the
one of the Kardashians, the Jenners, whatever they are.
Yeah. The one where she like gives the right cop the Pepsi and like everything just goes.
It's the most tone deaf thing.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, no, fuck off.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a failing of this corporate mindset, but if that's true, it's such a pervasive and just insane one.
No,
I don't understand what they're thinking.
I think the big problem there is that like. And this is an interesting one of like the world is changing so rapidly now that the people you have in positions of power in corporate world are people who have grown up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. All right.
Okay. Yeah. This is. I mean, I've heard this argument before. And it explains it somewhat, but I don't know. Just this idea that they're all a bunch of old funny-does and they don't know how the internet works. I know. I don't buy it. I think there's something. I mean, I don't understand. I don't have some sort of counter argument that it's some sort of
okay. So, but like
universal theory of marketing.
To me, it just speaks of ignorance of the change of information. Because, like, a lot of people, like, you look at people who are much younger now, and they tend to be a lot less brand-oriented. Because they do understand, that brands are just a marketing thing. They just... Like, realistically, that's all a brand is. It's a marketing exercise. And so that they do understand that, just because something has a brand on it doesn't necessarily mean it's good, but also doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's associated with everything that you see it on. Yeah, that all of the mental association to make freedom and flavor and rebellion. It's not necessarily, that's bullshit. I have the best freedom fries. that was the most fucked up one. Oh my God. But that's symptomatic of this this weird view of reality that it just doesn't fit. Which is what I'm talking about. Is the problem that corporations have? Oh well, we don't want to be associated with this video of this guy, making explosives. Yeah. And where on earth would you get the impression? I mean, surely they have a whole bunch of marketing research. I don't see a lot of YouTube ads because I block most of them. But I've read, I don't think I've ever seen a YouTube ad and then the content has had any real association with that. Exactly. No, this is it. There's no ordinary people. I mean, I don't understand how subconscious these associations are. I mean, when people make these, marketing people are fantastic. With behavioral science, they are in on it. They love it. They're Freud's cousin. Yeah, they're even bigger Skinner fans than we are. Yeah. Right. So but the idea that a regular person will see an ad and then watch a video and somehow associate the two to me is crazy. It's ludicrous. Like, people go, well, we don't want to be associated with explosives. No one's going to associate you with explosives. Yeah, like you don't go and watch, like the King of Random, Grant. Yeah, sure, Grant Thompson. Grant Thompson, yeah. Like you don't go and watch one of his videos and see a car ad before it or something like that and think that Grant Thompson is endorsing that thing. Yeah. The endorsements they do give, the ads during it, then they are clearly endorsing those things, and sometimes those ads, I can understand, like when their content changes. But in that situation, generally, you don't see the ad again, because they are going, well, hey, we don't want to be endorsed with that, So, like the whole cracking down on myself being someone who enjoys going out and doing shooting, like going to a target range or something like that. The whole crackdown at the moment on all the gun channels is just like, what the hell? Like, no, like, and okay, I can understand, that yes, it is a very sensitive subject at the moment and things like that, but you're conflating one with the other. Yeah, absolutely. You're conflating someone who like a sane, rational person does not go out, get a gun, however legal or illegal, and use it to kill, however many people. Yeah, that means that there is something wrong in that person's head. And that is the problem that should be, looked at there, not what they use. Because, like, people are like, oh, well, gun control. But you look at France, you look at the UK, you look at here even, when we've had the number of scenarios where people have gone out and killed, 20 people with a vehicle. Yeah. But we're not restricting vehicles. Yeah. And people are like, oh, well, a gun is made to... And I'm like, yes, that is one potential purpose of it. But that is one potential purpose of damn near anything that weighs more than a kilo. Yeah. Yeah. It really, people really should, like mass velocity. You've got to figure that one out. Yeah. Trucks just as F equals MV. Well, that's the rule you should live by. Yeah, that should be part of that gun control debate. F equals MV, folks. Yep. So, I mean, then you got other stupid shit like, was it Paul Logan or Jake Logan? I can't remember which one did the stupid body. In the forest. But Jake Paul. One of the two. Wait, is that a person? Yeah, Jake Paul's a person as well. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice and confusing, isn't it? Wait, no, their surname is Paul. It's Logan Paul and Jake Paul. Right, okay. Yeah, all right. Shows you how much attention I paid to them. We're the wrong demographic for that. Certainly. Yeah, indeed, very much indeed. And the reaction to that is what... I had to laugh at the reaction to that because the entire community went, oh my fucking God, no. And YouTube sort of went... perhaps we should do something. And that's the thing is it was a situation where there was clearly community outrage about it, and YouTube drag their feet about this golden. I mean, it's
it was such a corporate response. It was such a corporate response. It was like
especially because they were so invested. You know, because they get so many views for the platform, which means so much advertising money and blah 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 blah. So you know, it was very much shit. To what do we do now?
Those there's a great channel called Nerd City.
Not seen that one.
They're kind of somewhat new. They were the guys that did the when YouTube there were those codes, those 3-digit codes that people were looking in the metadata of the videos and finding that they'd been attributed these codes 104, 106, 108, and people. There's a lot of really great, smart people who go out there and basically, test things. They post to advertisers and they go and say, we don't want on this, and then they get the results and they cross-reference what it is that they've had. And this Nerd City guys, it's can we put links in the description? Can we say that? Link in the description. Okay, we'll track that down. Nerd City put out their video about what all the codes meant. And since then, they just removed. They just blocked. It's all. If you press F12, you're not going to see anything.
Diddly squat.
It's all behind a wall. But they are also. There's another great reason. Nerd City was bringing that up. No, it's gone. It's gone. Check out Nerd City. They do a lot of talk about this stuff. Oh my gosh.
Look,
the best stories are the ones with the point at the end, I find.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers I watch, like Jeff Holiday and stuff like that, who have ragged on YouTube about stuff, and like Phil DeFranco,
he's great for this.
He was saying, what was the one that he posted just the other day? I think he posted some video the other day, and he was saying that like the video that he posted just didn't appear.
For
40% of his viewers, and it's like congratulations YouTube, you've just taken like one of your biggest star. He's not. I think he's in the top 100, but he gets a lot of views, he gets a lot of interest, he educates a lot of people about current subjects and things like that.
Absolutely.
And you've just taken him and just like shat on 40% of his audience. So 40% of his viewers, So
now don't trust the platform.
Yeah, and it's like, well, all you're really doing is shitting in your own bed, because now if he finds an alternate platform, and he's working on his own platform as well, and then you've got things like Linus Tech Tips who are trying to start up Float Plane and all those other ones.
What's that? What's Float Plane?
So Linus Tech Tips is
I'm familiar with Linus. Yeah. Well, they might not be.
Yeah, so Linus Tech Tips is a technology channel. They talk about computers and blah, 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 blah.
It's a great channel.
And they're starting up their own video streaming platform called Floatplane.
Okay.
I think it's actually might have just gone live, or it's just about to go live. I can't remember. It was a couple of weeks ago when I saw the thing talking about it. But basically what they're doing is it's a subscription-based thing. And like I actually have subscribed to YouTube Red. I'm not at the moment. I'm waiting till my financial situation improves a little bit to get back onto it. I'm quite happy to pay for a subscription to a video service, that gives me what I want to watch ad free, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind, like when they have, Linus Tech Tips has a promotion at the start of each, start of and end of each video, and quite often I'll just close the video instead of watching that. But other times, when it's something I'm interested in, I'll have actually watched through it and then gone and looked it up. And and because those tend to be topical, they tend to be about what they're actually And like I had one a while ago of where I was trying to do something maybe ever so slightly nefarious, and one of their adverts was about a VPN, and I went and looked up that VPN. No, it was just something really minor. I was trying to basically play.
You were geo-spoofing something?
Yeah, I was trying to geo-spoof something to play a prank on someone, and ended up using that VPN to do it. They actually figured it out, so it didn't work so well, but oh
well. It sucks having smart friends.
It does sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, it was like that sort of advertising works well. The YouTube ads, just like is one of the reasons why I block them or why I use things like YouTube Red is because the YouTube ads they're so rarely related to what I want to watch.
Oh God, yeah.
And they're probably based on whatever demographic I do.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, oh my God.
Which I imagine that there's some poor bot in YouTube trying to figure out what demographic I am. Somebody just going, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. Okay. This is great. Despite being a guy who doesn't have a driver's license and doesn't drive.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm in the what 35 to 45, whatever age. The number of car ads I used to get is just you know, male 35 plus must want a car. Just like redonkulous. I just, you know, I wish I could just be helpful in that regard and just say, look, I don't actually carry a driver's license. I live in an area where, you know, I have a job where people either fly me to where I want to go or they drive me there. I don't, you know, and the taco stand is 10 minutes walk down the street. I don't have a car. I don't want a car.
I live 800 meters from my local station for a reason, and I work 800 meters from the station at work. Like, Artifactory is probably the hardest place for me to get to at the moment, and hopefully soon that might be changing.
Let's get an Uber. Yeah. Oh, are you moving house or is Artifactory?
We looked at a new building for this place. So I will say mum on that for the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, it has been an ongoing thing of trying to find a new home for this place.
Yeah.
To get a much bigger band room than the one we're currently in would be a nice thing, for instance. This place gets a bit crowded with like more than 3 people in here.
Yeah, well, band rooms,
especially once you put a drum kit in here.
Yeah, actually. If you get, we'll get one of these days. We'll get a camera too, and you'll get to see all around.
There are grand plans afoot to expand upon this, and you know, I do want to have more than 2 microphones so that we can actually have more than 2 people in here.
Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna make a note, to get that Nerd City.
The wonders of technology, which we discussed last week.
So, to the topic at hand. Like I said, it's not. It's. I figured that this might happen. You know, the topic would come up, and we'd both go. I agree entirely.
So we have slightly differing views on it. I think of you know, I don't think it was a smart thing to do.
Sure.
But that being said, I don't think he should not be. You know,
I had a conversation. It wasn't very long after the ruling was March 20th. You know, not the sentencing, but you know, he was found guilty March 20th, and it was an Estonian friend of mine, tattoo artist, was flying back to Estonia, and we were having a goodbye dinner. It was me and you know, some of my my friend. Todd, who is a circus geek freak, you know, proper weirdo, and this fantastic guy Josh, who I met, who is big Arduino guy actually, and like automating his hats, and we had great conversations about that. But the jokes we were telling, and it as I was leaving that dinner and that conversation, I was thinking to myself, this stuff is. The jokes we were telling were significantly worse. I mean, they were awful.
Yeah.
And intentionally so. That's the basis of the humor, is how offensive it is. You know, because there's a really interesting dichotomy that comes here that I think a lot of outside people might not be aware of. Is that I have a lot of very I'm in show business, right? We're a lefty bunch. There's a lot of lefty folks, right? But there's a lot of us that are, significantly and comfortably left, that we tell, really offensive, racist, horrible jokes.
I've had this situation before. I'm involved with a group of people, and they basically brought in a safe spaces policy, and I made an offensive joke, and
right,
they got all uptight about it.
Yeah.
But like one of these people, was the same person who the whole time, when this sort of thing was going on, would constantly tell like your mum jokes, and I had expressed to him on a number of occasions, that I found those distasteful and I didn't like them.
Right.
But he would he still wouldn't stop, and it's like, well, hang on a second, how can you be someone who is enforcing an offensive, a policy about offense,
right,
when you refuse to pay attention to someone else's offense?
Yeah, that's this is one of the real dangers of legislating something like this, because it's not. You're going to have a checklist of offense, and you're going to say that it's about feelings, which is in itself ludicrous, dangerous, and
yeah.
And,
As I said, you can't legislate a subjective thing.
Precisely.
Yeah,
because it's once that it. I mean, and without using cliches, it really is that thin end of the wedge. Because as soon as you have that precedent,
yep.
everything is offensive to someone.
Yep.
Everything is offensive.
Yep.
So everything is legislatable.
Offense can only be taken, not given. So. Yeah. Okay. So and there's actually a wonderful, like you're talking about, like automating your house and stuff. Here's a wonderful horror scenario. So everyone's getting onto, the Google Home and Alexa and the Siri smart speakers and stuff like that now. So if you make offensive speech a crime, and you've got this thing in your house that could potentially be listening out, then that's Big Brother.
Yeah,
we've quite literally invited Big Brother into our houses. And
I have one. I have one in my house.
I don't have.
I thought I could hack it.
I don't have a smart speaker, but I have a phone which I have set up to do the trigger word and everything like that. I'm not going to say it now because it's going to go at me. It's one of those things of you can it is a dangerous precedence to set because once you set that precedent, it's very hard to backpedal from it.
I think that's why reasonable people who can see, you can see the end game of this ruling, are particularly upset.
Yes.
But I wonder about whether it's whether that genie will go back into that bottle.
Well, so look, one of the sorry, I was going to say one of the interesting possibilities with this is, so you've now got one person who's been done for this. So 6 months down the track, you have someone who is sitting in a library reading Mein Kampf.
Right.
Well, then where do you draw the line?
Right.
Because I mean, cool, they're not doing it on a video or something like that. But if they're sitting in a library reading Mein Kampf and someone reads it over their shoulder and finds offense at it. How do you tell the difference between where do you draw the line?
It's so it really is so messed up, and it's so messed up in this incredibly that Churchill quote about the new fascists will pose as anti-fascists thing just keeps rolling around in my head, and it really it's terrifying.
Antifa is one of those things that I just look at and groan.
Oh Jesus! I have some very dear friends of mine that are big Antifa proponents, and we have the regular arguments about that I should distinguish between Antifa and the Black Bloc, and it's all sugar kisses and gumdrops, and it really kind of grinds my gears about that one.
Well, I had a conversation with someone here actually this weekend. Last weekend, about talking about demographics and things like that, and basically what I said is that as soon as you define someone by a demographic and you dissuade them or you otherwise make their lives harder or make their lives less enjoyable based upon that demographic. Doesn't matter what the demographic is.
You're that's racist.
Yeah. Well, my favorite one I've seen recently was colorism.
wait, is that Francesca Ramsey?
Yes.
God damn you, Francesca Ramsey.
Yeah, so as soon as you do anything to anyone based upon a demographic, whether that be and technically, yes, even being, a skinhead neo-Nazi can be considered a demographic because that's you are sorry, I'm trying to remember the root of the word demographic now, but basically you are defining that person by what they believe rather than who they are.
Right.
And as it's
well, hang on, no, I mean what they believe and who they are, I think that's more of a similarity than what they look like. They are.
But as soon as you do that, people are like, oh, well, but you shouldn't give homage to their ideas. Like, yeah, no bullshit. You shouldn't give homage to their ideas.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that you are going to change their ideas by criminalizing them.
Well, oh my God, yeah, that's a really dangerous one. And to me, it's so obvious that you can't if you make these people into. People think that you can only martyr people by killing them. You can absolutely, people like, do you think anyone would give a shit about Milo Yiannopoulos if people weren't...
No, hey, look, Australian example, that guy, I can't remember his name, who bailed up Senator Sam Dastari in the bar, who used to work for Toll and stuff like that.
I'm not familiar with this story.
Oh, he's a Australian yobbo who bailed up Senator Sam Dastari in a bar about his relationship with China and stuff like that. And he's was part of some Australian, first group and things like this. And he goes on and on about, everyone's just being hard on me, because that's how they keep us down and things like that. You've made him a martyr for that group by doing this to him.
Right. Okay.
That being said, the guy is a douche.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's a dick, he's an idiot, but by giving him attention and by, publicly shaming and naming him, all you've done is A, brought attention to him, and B, given his case more credence, And the same thing just happened in the UK with, Lauren Southern and...
whoever that... Yeah, they wanted to come in and do some interviews and were blocked.
Yeah.
For... that's a very... Yeah, I mean, that's a... that's the flip side of the Dankula coin, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very dangerous, and the outcomes are not going to be good. They're going to be just...
But people talk about, I've often heard people talk about, Crystal Nacht, that are in World War II, because everyone just ignored the Nazis until it was too late. And it's not that everyone ignored the Nazis; it's that no one stood up and said this is wrong.
Yeah.
If you stand up and say this is wrong, in counter to what they are saying, and you demonstrate why, and you give them examples, and you give them why it is wrong, then you have to argue the point.
This is the and very important distinction that I think a lot of censorious people don't understand, and I think it's absolutely intrinsic to almost everything that we're talking about here. Is that you're in a debate of that nature. Your job is not to convince the other person with a bad idea.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Your job is to convince anybody who is listening to the debate.
Debates aren't scored by the participants; they're scored by the audience.
Precisely. Yeah. Precisely. And if you the best, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you let these ideas be expressed, and everyone can go, well, that's. What? That's stupid.
Yeah.
And here's a bunch of reasons why it's stupid. Then people can go, oh, great. Well, we don't need to listen to that terrible person and their terrible ideas anymore.
Yeah.
Rather than say, you can't say that. I refuse to let you say that. And then if they have any, this is an interesting thing. If they have any other ideas that are even remotely reasonable, they're suddenly, people go, oh, but they said that, and that's pretty reasonable. Maybe these bad ideas coming out of this bad person are okay. I mean, everyone's trying to shut them up. They must be great.
So one of my friends, who lives over in Victoria, is a YouTuber, and I watch some of the stuff he says, and I'm sort of like, like he says on Facebook and stuff, and I'm just like, shake my head, and a lot of the time it's not worth my time and effort to argue the point.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, there are times when I have gone, this, and this, and actually given examples and demonstrations and things like that. And there are times where, I would like to think I've stopped and made him think about it and stuff like that.
Yeah. But the important thing is that anybody who then reads that conversation understands, can make up their own mind.
The people who are in the conversation are the worst people to try and actually, you're not going to change the person you're talking to's mind.
Yeah.
But you may change someone else's mind.
Precisely.
One of the ones I was thinking about before is, and this is, there's various people who have said this, but there's a great quote from the movie American History X, and the teacher come,
Cisco?
No, he's not. Wait, is he Cisco?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he is too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never even realised that one before.
Oh, what? Oh, dude. Shout out to my DS9 peeps. On my station.
He says to Edward Norton, his name I can't remember in the movie, but he says to him, what have you done that's made your life better?
Oh, what about all this has made your life better? Yeah.
Like, and it's like,
clean your room.
So there are, and I must admit I'm not the best person at doing this, but there is one YouTuber I watch who's one of his frequent refrains is try and do something every day to try and make your life that little bit better. And whether that be something personally for yourself or helping someone else or learning something or anything like that. Anything, and sometimes that's as simple as turning the other cheek. Like if someone says something offensive or something, there are people who I talk to, like I've talked to people at work and they go, they say something and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool, and it's not worth the effort and time.
That was very similar to on a much smaller scale, but I mentioned on my way in here, I had a chauffeur driver who was trying to convince me that radio is he found out that I MC and that I'm in entertainment, and he said, "Oh, you should do stuff on the radio."
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, well, it's kind of a dying medium. I mean, I'm not gonna drop everything I have to go jump onto a leak." Oh no! Community radio is a very different thing, and God bless you, RTR.
Yeah.
But this guy, but he was becoming very very adamant and really like personally involved. It's like you don't understand. Like radio is really important. People really love it. Radio will always be here. And I thought to myself, I can bring up a bunch of stats, or I can talk about this and try and change this guy's mind. But this is clearly, once you get to that idea, like he's really who's going to benefit from this?
There's an interesting thing there. I was talking to someone else about this recently. Of it's really hard to change someone else's mind. When you are having an argument or having a discussion with someone, it's really hard to get them to a point where they basically to admit you're right, they would have to change their mind. And that's a really hard...
People are not good at that.
No. Yeah. And like, I'm guilty of it. I've done it on certain things. But there are, something that I try and do myself now is if I'm talking about something and I say something, like I have a smartphone in my pocket, I'll pull it out and I'll fact check myself.
Yeah,
and there are times, I've had one just recently where I pulled it out, fact checked myself, got it wrong, admitted that, and someone was like, "Yeah, I just looked that up. You're wrong." And they were really happy that they'd change. I can understand that because it's such a hard thing to do is to change someone else's mind.
It is. It does take a lot of. It does take some hard graft to get into that mindset. I would recommend it to anybody. I have a big, especially around here. I have a lot of great chances to do this. Is to say I don't know. If you want to become smarter, and one of the best things you can ever say is, I don't know what that is. Can you please explain it to me? And because everybody's so terrified of looking foolish that nobody wants to know anything anymore.
So like it's something that I try and do a lot of is like if someone asks me something, and I don't know the answer. There are plenty of people around here who can point them to and go,
this is like, you want a brain trust.
Yeah.
This is the place to go.
Like, hey, I don't know the answer. This person probably does.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I will then go along and listen as well. Yeah. Because it's a chance for me to learn as well as for that person to learn. And like, if you don't know something, speak up and say it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've had so many scenarios over the years through work and through places like this and through whatever, where someone who doesn't know something, has done the wrong thing and caused more problems than they solved.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Then if in the first place they would have just gone, sorry, I don't know.
Even for your own personal life, I think so much good comes from it. It's just it's so rewarding, but you really have to take that step to go, to have the humility to say, I don't know what that is, you know, and it's great. Like your curiosity, it just gets to blossom. It's great. You go, I don't know. I'm really, I have very little knowledge about this particular topic. I'd love to hear whatever you've got to say. It's really, incredibly rewarding. And admitting you're wrong. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. And I used to hate it. You know, and I think generally people do. They don't want. Nobody wants to go, oh, I'm wrong. You know, oh, I was wrong about that. But boy, oh boy, you can really grow to love it. You know, if you find out that you're wrong about something and
it's
the admission.
You know, it's being able to say you're wrong is a much bigger indication of maturity than anything else. Because
that's a big call. That's a big call. But you might be right. Yeah.
Well, I would, because it does seem to, you know, and I mean, hey, I'm only 35 myself, and you know, I'm, you know, in some respects I'm a spring chicken, in other respects I'm bloody old, you know. But you know, it's something that I have.
You want to buy a car?
It's something that I have seen a lot from, you know, like young kids who come in here and stuff like that, and that they want to know everything.
Yeah.
Which is a wonderful goal.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to admit that they don't know something.
Yeah, that's that's the flip side of that curious youth thing.
Yep.
But that's I mean, kids is a different story. That's a light touch. You know, you can. Well, that's the one thing is gatekeepers. Can't abide a gatekeeper.
No,
I'm not do not like gatekeepers. Go out of my way.
Actually, one that really annoys me, and this is one I've run into a few times in life, is not when I say that I don't know something, but when someone else says I don't know something.
Yeah.
That to me is an absolute, like, that is an anathema. You know, I get really annoyed at that concept because.
What do you mean when somebody else?
Someone else says I don't, you know, says that they, you know more about something than I do, or they say that I don't know how to do something.
Oh, if someone else tells you, you do. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. That to me, like that's I find that quite offensive.
Well, it's not. You're not. Oh God, helping anyone. It's a very clear indicator that they just. The point is not to illuminate anyone's understanding. It's just to make themselves feel really cool that they know something that you don't. Which is just the worst. It's the worst kind of people.
But I think it's also sometimes comes from a place of
insecurity.
Yeah, I would say so. You know, like no, I was just thinking about there was a particular incident here that comes to mind, but I'm not going to go into it because it's too easy to identify the people involved.
Right.
But like why would you possibly think that you could know what someone else does? You know,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, not know the same thing as them. Know that they do or don't know the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I when I speak to anyone here, I try and always, you know, I'll talk to them and I actually I get some confused looks because I tend to start very high level.
Sure.
And you know, I'll ask them, you know, do you know what this is? And then I'll work my way down from that.
I recognize that in your conversation. I do that a lot. Yeah. But you start talking about something and I just get to go off on my, wait, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that? How does that work? What's that thing?
Yeah.
And eventually we'll get down to an area and you go, okay, if you take these two blocks and bash them
together,
eventually they'll go hot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's the whole thing of, like, rather than talking down to someone, you know, and assuming what they know.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's much better to go to actually ask them and go, you know, and you are going to run into people when you say that, and this is the thing, is you are going to run into people who, when you say that, they'll go, oh yeah, I know what that is, and then you start expanding upon that, and they clearly don't.
Yeah.
But you know, that very quickly becomes self-evident.
Yeah.
You know, rather than assuming that they don't know what that is and starting at the lowest level and having them get frustrated.
Yeah. Because
you're talking to them, you know, about stuff that they already understand.
Mm. Yeah. It's very easy to if you've had these sort of interactions a lot, it's very easy to be able to get across that, even if you're talking to somebody who perhaps is a little insecure and will pretend to know things. Yes. And I used to be absolutely the same. The number of times, you know, and I think back on those times ago, every one of them's a wasted opportunity.
Yep.
You know, but you can get through that without being patronizing, without being without being a gatekeeper or lording it over people.
Yeah.
It's very, very, and around here, like this is one of the reasons why I love this place. Is I have asked so many, dumb, I'm sure, like really menial questions to people. And I've never once been made to feel stupid, despite the fact that I would get people to basically dumb it down to, fifth grade level.
Like there's a wonderful saying I like, there's no such thing as dumb question, there's only dumb answer. Because
I guess
I will say the caveat to that is if you ask the same question twice, I will slap you. I used to have a mate many years ago who had a really bad habit of he would ask a question if he didn't understand the answer, and this is what part of what led me to learning to try and figure out what people's level is and talk to them at that level is. He would ask a question. If he didn't understand the answer, he would ask the same question again, rather than asking a more detailed question.
Sure.
Which is one of those things that some people don't quite get. So it's much better. And I sometimes get complaints from people. I've had comments from people about why do you always answer a question with a question? I'm like, well, because, you ask me a question and I'm trying to understand how much of it you understand so that I can answer at a level that you will get.
You do often answer questions with questions, but it's always, the question that you respond with always begins with, do you know something?
Yeah.
Which I think, doesn't really, that's acceptable and should be encouraged.
It's probing conversation. It's basically So and this sort of comes back to this is a very long roundabout thing, but this sort of comes back to the whole thing with
we're still thinking of you, Dankula. We are still thinking about you.
Yeah, well, it comes back to that because it all comes down to context, and if you just look at the video and don't talk to him, then you're making assumptions about his state of mind and about what he believes and about who he is.
Yeah.
Rather than actually asking him, the guy who made it, And now you might doubt his motivations, you might doubt his state of mind, you might doubt his, reasons for doing something. But if you doubt them and you act without doing that, then you're just as bad as him.
This is you're swimming in a sea of subjectivity and you will never find land.
Yeah.
That's, gosh, it really is it's a scary one. Poor Dank.
Yeah.
Poor Dankula.
It's a little bit ridiculous. All right, I think we've been going for about 50 minutes, and I'm starting to get a little bit.
You getting a buzz on?
Getting a bit of a buzz on. So.
Well, I guess we should wrap it up, but we should really get back on the topic at hand.
And my feelings on it is that it was a dumb thing to do. I don't know whether I would have done it to my partner or not, but it's still a dumb thing to have done in my mind. That being said, there is no fucking way on earth that he should be charged with a crime for it.
Oh, a hate crime.
Yeah.
Any crime.
I've heard people say, oh, well, maybe he should have just been fined or something. But I think even being fined for something like that is just ridiculous. It's a poor taste joke between two people that he put on the internet and happened to go viral.
Yeah.
That's really not his fault that it went viral either. It should really just be something that stayed between, him, his partner, and maybe some friends. Unfortunately, the nature of the internet, and this is something is if you put something on the internet, then it can spread like wildfire, and there's going to be someone who takes offense.
Won't scrub out.
Yeah,
no matter how hard you scrub it.
Good old Streisand effect.
Yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. I agree with you in absolutely in the outcome. It's ridiculous and terrifying that the outcome of this, that he's been found guilty of a hate crime and could be looking at 5 years in prison for a joke, for a goddamn joke. But I can totally accept you're calling it foolish, because that's well within the realm of subjectivity. You can say, well, Lemming thinks that was a dumb thing to do, and I can think that was a hilarious thing to do.
I could see a certain amount of humor in it, but I'm still like, I'm like, you know, to me, it's you know,
oh God.
like
I see a certain amount of humor in it.
So like you know, things. The sort of thing I find really quite amusing is things like you know, one of my favorites is Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen Bruce Almighty. Is that Jim Carrey movie?
It's Jim Carrey and Morgan Freeman.
And Morgan Freeman is, of course,
God,
the voice of God.
Yep.
Okay.
So like that's
that's your bar for comedy. It's
I'm just giving one example.
Okay.
I mean, comedy is a very subjective thing anyway.
That's a whole topic in itself. I mean, is there anything more subjective than what people find funny?
Exactly. And even it's not only subjective, but it's also something of like it depends on who you're with. There are jokes I would make with you that I wouldn't make with some next door. There are jokes I would make with you that I wouldn't make with my mum. You know, like things like that.
Yeah, precisely.
You know? So it's you know,
context and intent.
Yeah, context and intent are everything. So
absolutely.
I think that's very much the message from context and intent. Like no matter what you're doing, that means everything.
Hashtag free Dankula.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Well,
cool. It's been a good one.
It's been we are such ramblers.
We are.
God damn, do we get onto some different, you know, all over the place topics. I mean, I knew that this one was going to go all over the place, but oh my gosh.
I think all of them are going to be like this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now people know that I like Peterson, and oh my God, the internet is gonna roast me.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, actually, just quickly on that, there was one I was going to say before of like. There are things of Peterson I agree with. There are things I don't agree with.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Sargon of Akkad that I agree with, and there are things that I don't agree with.
Oh, yeah.
All of those, you know, like, and even like, you know, like the people who they're constantly talking about. There are points I've heard them make where I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's all about context and intent.
Well, okay, this just in finality here, I saw an interview just recently, or it was a vlog actually from Dankula, who was talking about because he was receiving support from people like Tommy Robinson and Lauren Southern. So there were people that were opposed to his campaign because people like Tommy Robinson, you know, who says some, you know, there's a lot of reasons to not like that guy. And Lauren Southern, same thing. A lot of reasons to not like those people. But the fact that there are these people who also recognize this is a bad thing, and then being over here and going, well, I'm not going to support him because those people support him, is
idiotic.
It's absolutely idiotic. The fact that nuance is so hard to come by these days is I thought that was a really interesting point to
I think that's one thing that's been lost a lot on the internet is nuance.
Oh man.
So
it's it's really hard. Oh boy.
All right.
Well,
I'm
thanks again, internet.
Yes, let's call an end to this. And
we'll see you in another 2 weeks.
Another fortnight,
Yeah.
So the 8th of April, I believe.
I will be out of town.
That's right, you will be
doing a thing that I can't talk about right now. Okay. But
if you have a free night, maybe we can figure something out and do it remotely or something.
Oh yeah.
We have the technology.
We do. Oh yeah, I could. We could do. We'll Google Hangout it or something like that.
I'm sure we can make something work.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you for the next episode of Salty, Surly, and Salacious.
The Lemming and Magnus Show.
Hey! So long, folks.